Welcome to the Jedi Ranger. I'm John Berry 555, and today, I'm continuing my series of match retro reviews with the first episode of the 4th season. Welcome to Korea. So, this episode, basically, it's following up after McCain Stevenson's character, Lieutenant Colonel Henry Blake leaves, and also we find out that Trapper has left as well. So, the episode actually, though, opens up with basically showing what it's like the 477 being under Frank's command. He's a dictator. He's trying to be military, but really it's for him just to be in control. There's literally a scene later on in the episode where he goes to Father McKay and asks him to try to incorporate this into his sermon. Strength through obedience. Frank. You know what you're saying, right? Because that's very similar to something from 1930s Germany. If you know, you know. By the way, also there's this, during the formation at the beginning, Klinger's wearing a hat, and when Frank asks him, why he's wearing that, his response, it's spring, so springtime fall. You know where I'm going here. Yeah, I'm comparing Frank to a certain somebody that I saw earlier in the video, and I don't want to get flagged by YouTube. Because, yay YouTube! But Frank is just an authoritarian dick. That's what he really is. And when they find out that a new surgeon's coming to replace Trapper, Frank and Margaret are like, ooh, we can mold him in our image. Hawkeye gets to him first, of course, because he goes with Raider to pick BJ up in order to try to say goodbye to Trapper, who he misses by 10 minutes. Because Hawkeye was on R&R when Trapper got his orders to leave. And then, of course, he goes through a series of vignettes getting back. So Jeep gets stolen, they go into the officers club. In order to get Raider in there, they put one of BJ's captain bars, creating a corporal captain. They steal a general's Jeep. They get stopped by a checkpoint, do some lying. They rescue a Korean girl who was checking out the field for mines because God knows the father couldn't do it because they needed to make it safe for the ox. They have to change a flat tire and get ambushed by North Korean guerrillas. They end up in helping soldiers who are being hit by artillery barrage. And that's also where BJ gets his first true taste of basically military life in the field in combat. Because BJ, fresh out of residency, he even calls his training indoctrination, which already tells you who he's going to be as a character. Very well simpatico with Hawkeye. And then eventually they do arrive at the 477, but they go to Rosie's bar first for a drink. Of course they do. And Hawkeye is totally unfazed by a bar fight going on in the background, and only acknowledges them when they actually break the table that they're at. And then they arrive back at camp. BJ calls Frank ferret face, and then the episode ends with the MPs coming and arresting Frank for, having a general's Jeep, because of the lie that Hawkeye told them earlier. And by the way, Hawkeye had already lied to the MPs after blowing through a checkpoint on the way to get to the air base to try to say goodbye to Trapper. He already had done that as well. But this is only a theory on my hand, but after all this is when they introduce all the cast, the main characters, which they've done really at the end of the first episode of each season. And by the way, in this episode, Jamie Farrell, Corporal Killing, is elevated to main character status. But, of course, they end with announcing that Colonel Parter is going to be coming. Could the thing with the Jeep be why Colonel Parter from an in-universe perspective, the decision was made to send him to take command of the Union because Frank couldn't be trusted because he stole a general's Jeep? I'm just saying. It's a theory. I like it. And I think it would be quite an interesting thing if that was the case. The real reason is they actually did want to have somebody replace Henry, and they decided to go for a different kind of character, but I like my in-universe theory a lot. So overall, this is a great fun episode, a great reintroduction, and I also think it sets the tone for what Season 4 and MASH is becoming. Because we do have our comedic moments, but the scene where they're helping those injured soldiers, and there comes a moment where it just gets to BJ. This is probably the most amount of blood and guts he has seen, and he has to just take a moment and at the very least dry heave. I don't know if he actually throws up. And Hawkeye just takes a moment and comforts him before getting right back at it. But that scene alone is setting that tone that, hey, things are going to start getting more serious. That was a scene not played for laughs, it was played seriously. And as something that is just a nature of being in a war environment. Even some of the other scenes that they also played for comedy, such as with when they were changing the flat tires and ambushed by guerrillas. The only part that was really played for comedy though was Radar trying to get the jack for the Jeep put back in, and Hawkeye tells him to leave it. Radar says, "It's a generous jack, so," and says, "Salute and leave it." And that's like the only humor, but the rest of the situation was treated seriously. And kind of same thing with the Korean family having their daughters check a minefield for a field for mines, not a minefield for mines. The only thing that was really played up for laughs was more the communication barrier. Everything else about it was treated seriously. And maybe not super seriously, mind you, but it does show the direction that MASH is going in terms of its humor. There's still going to be humor involved, but you can already tell they're saying, letting us, the audience, know through these vignettes that, hey, we're going to start being a little more serious about things. And that really does come to fruition in the very next episode, Change of Command with Colonel Potter, but we're going to be talking about that next week. But in the meantime, I would love to hear your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching my video. I do hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please be sure to give this video a like and share. Also, consider subscribing to my channel to stay up to date on all my latest content. In the meantime, thank you for watching, and as always, have a good day, a good night, wherever you are. May the Force be with you always.